Hi, this is Wendy, and I'm here today to give you a behind the scenes tour of Fodder School. If you've never heard of Fodder School before, I'm just going to start by telling you about it while scrolling on Instagram so that you can visually appreciate what types of art we're creating in Fodder School. Fodder School is essentially 12 separate mixed media collage art courses packaged together and delivered over the course of 1 year. So each year in Fodder School, there are 12 individual instructors and 12 individual projects. So we can see here on our Instagram account the types of projects that we delivered to the community during Fodder School 1. So our most recent month, our instructor was Kelly Anderson, and she had us working on travelers' notebooks. So we made faux postage, we made vintage slides with photos and other specimens, and pockets and other things. And then she taught us how to do this thing called a traveler's notebook, which is basically a way of doing planning or keeping lists. And it was super fun. Then we have August of 2022, which was my month, and we made a really grungy, really textural book full of quotes, and we learned how to dye our own fabrics and do all sorts of fabric treatments to make custom fabrics to use in the bindings of our books. The month before that, the instructor was Roxanne Paget. You can see right here, we made accordion books with her, with contrasting collage fodder. So you can see here's an example of someone who was just putting the collage fodder together in contrasting ways. And we made these incredible accordion books. Back in July, we had the Fodder Challenge. So there's a bunch of lessons here from Fodder Challenge, which we'll talk about at the end of this video. And on and on and on. We have lots of fun in Fodder School, playing with paper, playing with mixed media art, using different materials. And you can take a look at this account and see the types of art that we make. So now that you kind of have a feeling for the type of art we make, let's move over to our classroom, which is actually on Teachable. So here's our Fodder School 2 classroom. And the first thing that you'll see in the Fodder School classroom is orientation. In orientation, we talk about things like the materials and the supplies and the tools and some other kind of basic information about Fodder School. In Fodder School 2, we added a section called Treasure Hunt, which is suggested things to look out for if you're the type of person who likes to go to estate sales and vintage flea markets, and you want to try to pick some of the stuff up that we're going to be using in Fodder School 2, but you want to pick it up already pre-owned. Then you'll see here that we have the Fodder Challenge lessons from this past summer, July, and I'll talk about those again at the end of the video. And then you start in with the month that we're coming up to, which is October 2022, which is the beginning of Fodder School 2. So now let's contrast that with what Fodder School 1 classroom looks like. Let's see if I can get back to the home page of Fodder School 1. Oh, there I had it. Now I lost it. Okay, so I'm going to preview this as a student. Okay, so here's Fodder School 1. Fodder School 1 has been completely delivered, and it's got 12 months of lessons in it. So we've got October with Tiffany Sharp. We've got October bonus lessons. Then we have November with Dee Dee Catron, November bonus lessons, December with Amy Bishop, and on and on. So we've got 12 different projects already delivered in Fodder School 1. So if you were to come in today and purchase the Fodder School 1 curriculum, you would have access to all of Fodder School 1. Now, you may be wondering what collage fodder is. So collage fodder is anything that an artist can use to create mixed media collage art. It can be things that you collect, like magazine images or security envelopes, old ledger paper, vintage postcards and letters, and so much more. It could also be things that you rescue out of the trash. And what we do in Fodder School is we make our own unique collage materials, mostly out of paper, sometimes out of fabric. And we're also open to making collage materials out of other things. We don't know where we're going to be taken in the future. So the way that the course is structured is that on the first of every month, you'll receive a set of lessons from the teacher of that month. And those lessons are going to be all about creating collage fodder. And you'll see here Tiffany's lessons from October 2021. And then on the 15th of the month, you're going to have a set of lessons about the project of that month. In addition to that, you'll see that in some months, there's also bonus lessons. And the bonus lessons are things that are created spontaneously. They're not pre-planned in any way. They're not, predetermined as part of the lesson. They're just things that come up for other people in Fodder School that want to share something with the Fodder School community. So for the most part, the people who are creating these Fodder School bonus lessons are the other teachers in Fodder School. But occasionally, even a participant in Fodder School will create a bonus lesson. The other thing that we release every month is we release a supply list. So here you can see our November of Fodder School 1 supply list. And we release these supply lists 2 weeks in advance of each month. So you have lots of time to go out and acquire those supplies that you don't already have. And we're going to take a look at the supply list for the month that's going to be coming up, which is the first month in Fodder School 2. And this is Rebecca Sauer's supply list. And you're going to see about, I would say, 20 to 30 different things on a supply list, maybe even more sometimes. And those are things, for the most part, that mixed media artists already own. So if you're new to mixed media, it might feel like you're purchasing a lot of things for Fodder School. But once you have a really good kind of handle on what is used in mixed media, in any given month, you're not going to be buying a lot of different things. So there's just a lot of repeat items within mixed media art that every mixed media artist sort of ends up owning. Now, I just want to talk a little bit more about that bonus content and something that's unique to Fodder School, which is even though Fodder School is technically an online course with one price and one payment, there's a feeling in Fodder School that it's really a membership. So the way that it differs from a traditional online membership is once you commit to being in Fodder School, there's no recurring payment. We don't automatically bill you the next year on the same date. It's not like that at all. You decide if you want to buy a year's worth of content, and then the next year, there's, again, no recurring payment. You can decide you want to do it again next year or not do it again next year, but you don't need to do anything to cancel a membership. So in that sense, Fodder School is not a membership. It's just a year-long art course. But there are ways that Fodder School kind of feels like a membership. And like I mentioned, one of those ways is that the course is dynamic, so we're adding content as we go. The other ways that Fodder School feels like a membership is we have 2 private Facebook groups. So here's the Fodder School 1 Facebook group. There's also a Fodder School 2 Facebook group. And these Facebook groups are very, very active, and people are continuously posting their art and liking each other's posts and commenting on each other's posts, and even sometimes finding other people that live near them and getting together and meeting with them to just, make a new friend, make art together. So that's a real possibility. And something to know about our Facebook groups is that they are very focused on Fodder School, very dedicated to the content that is Fodder School. They are not generalized mixed media groups where mixed media artists come and just post whatever they're working on. We are only posting about Fodder School and Fodder School projects. So it feels like a community because we are communicating with each other on a daily basis, if that's the kind of thing that you like to do. No one has to join the Facebook group. In fact, there's a lot of people who are in Fodder School who aren't even on Facebook. The other way that Fodder School can feel like a community is Instagram. So if you're on Instagram and you're someone who likes to scroll the gram, then one thing that you'll notice is that there'll be other people using the hashtag Fodder School or Fodder School Project. And you may decide that, look at that, there's 9,290 posts already using the hashtag Fodder School and 7,506 posts using Fodder School Project. So I'd like to explain the difference between the two hashtags and why there are two different hashtags that we recommend using. The first hashtag, Fodder School, is really the generalized hashtag where even if you're not making a Fodder School project, but you're using fodder that you created in Fodder School, you can still use that hashtag to identify that, oh, hey, I'm a part of Fodder School, just notice this. But, maybe it's an art journal page and it's not one of the Fodder School projects. The other hashtag that we use is Fodder School Project. Now, these other hashtags that you'll see here, those are just hashtags that other people decided they wanted to make up on their own, but I don't use those hashtags. I just use Fodder School Project and Fodder School. So I created this secondary hashtag so that I could easily find all of the very specific projects that are made in Fodder School, and that I wouldn't have to kind of wade through all the ways that people use the fodder, but they're not using it for the specific projects. So you'll occasionally see something if you look for these hashtags like this. This is not a Fodder School project. I have no idea why this person used that hashtag. But here I'm really looking at like what's new and who's made, the recent Fodder School projects, and I can look at them by recent. And here is Rabid Rossi Fan 46. And when I'm making a project in Fodder School, I want to see what other people are doing. I really thrive in an environment where it's not just me making the projects, it's other people making the projects, and seeing how other people interpret those projects is really very inspirational for me as far as pushing me out of just the limits of my own imagination. It may not be that I'm going to totally copy what Rabid Rossi 46 does, because there's no way to copy another artist like that. But I might take inspiration. I might go, oh, isn't that cool? Like, she added these calendars to her traveler's notebooks. And I love how she added this notebook paper. And that gave me an idea to add ledger paper as a list substrate for my book. So that's kind of the essence of what Fodder School is. We're all working in a community on the same projects. And even if you're doing Fodder School at your own pace and you're not keeping up with a whole group of people doing one specific project that month, you can look back at whatever project you're working on. You can always look back at these hashtags on Instagram, and you can always scroll the Facebook group to see how other people interpreted the same project. Because at the end of the day, there's only 12 projects in Fodder School in a whole year. Plus, there's bonus projects too, but there's 12 main projects. So here you have an example of someone who's interpreted the vintage photo slide. And let's see if I can find another one. Here's more of the photo slides. Oh, that's my cat meowing. My cat is going to keep meowing. So here's another slide. I made that one. And you can see how people will interpret the same project differently. And it's just, I find it really inspirational, and it really helps me to make better art. So I'm just trying to find another slide. Oh, here's more slides. Oh, these are adorable and different. And I love that. I love how different this is. So I was mentioning working at your own pace, and that's really, really important to know about Fodder School. I would say that less than half the people who are registered in Fodder School are working with the group and keeping up with the pack. I'd say the majority of people are actually working at their own pace. And definitely not everyone is getting through all 12 projects within a year. And the way that the Fodder School pricing is designed is that it's a huge value. So no one has to feel guilty about buying an art course and not doing everything, because it's basically designed that you're just getting a ton of content for a very reasonable price, so that you don't feel stress about having to do everything, like, oh my gosh, you've paid for this course and you're not really making use of it. I would say if you end up completing 3 out of the 12 projects per year, you've already gotten tremendous value out of Fodder School. And anything more than that is totally gravy. If you end up completing them all, you've really just made out really, really big. So let's talk about what the options are for joining Fodder School. Let's go to my website, willawanders.com, and this is the page Fodder School. And when you're on that page, you'll see that you have 2 options. You can join Fodder School 1, or you can join Fodder School 2. So if you join Fodder School 1, that course has already been delivered, and you'll have immediate access to all 12 lessons. If you join Fodder School 2, we're just getting rolling on that. So those lessons will release every month. Now, if you've got more questions about Fodder School, there's an FAQ page on my website that has so many things. What is Collage Fodder? What is Fodder School? Is it for beginners? Yes, it is. It's also for intermediate and advanced. But pretty much every question that people have asked is all on the Fodder School page on willawanders.com. So if you've got questions about specific Fodder School lessons, the place to ask those questions primarily is in the classroom on Teachable. So let's see a Fodder School 1 lesson. And let's go to one of Megan Wisner-Quinlan's lessons. Let's go to Making Botanicals. This might launch into playing a video. It probably will. That. And you can see that there's 47 comments on this video. Now, a lot of people just come in to compliment the instructor and say, wow, this was a great video. I really love these techniques. But sometimes people really have legitimate questions about a technique or a supply. And this is a great place to ask those questions. So this is the comment section on Teachable. And if the teacher isn't there answering it, there's usually other students in there answering it. And that all happens pretty much during the month that teacher is the teacher of the month in Fodder School. After that month is over, I don't expect that the instructors are going to be coming in and checking in on their lessons within the Fodder School classroom. So if you've got a question about a lesson and you're working at your own pace, One way to get that question answered is just by looking through the comments and seeing if someone else has already asked that question and seeing if that question was answered already in the comments section. If you can't find an answer to your question, you can always reach out to an instructor using Instagram DMs, or you can even find that instructor's website fairly easily just by doing a Google search and then contacting them and, just using email to contact them. So something that I mentioned in the beginning of the video was the Fodder Challenge, and I just want you to know what that is. So every year in July, we host something, Tiffany Sharp and I host something called the Fodder Challenge. Let me find, oopsie. Okay, that's not what I wanted. So the Fodder Challenge is free and it's open to anyone. And it's a way for people to get a preview of the teachers and the type of art that they make, that they're going to, the type of art that they make, because they are going to be the instructors that are coming up for the next year of Fodder School. So in Fodder Challenge 2022, we had 10 teachers and they all delivered a short project lesson. And that's a really fun thing. I think we had about 15,000 people register for that this past summer in July of 2022. And those lessons are available for free for about 3 weeks. When that 3 weeks is over, those lessons totally go away. And then the only people who have access to those projects are the people that register for the upcoming Fodder School. So if you've already registered for Fodder School 2, then you have all the Fodder Challenge 2022 lessons already contained within your Fodder School 2 classroom. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. If you've got any questions about Fodder School 1, Fodder School 2, then you can reach out to me at willaworkshops@gmail.com. And you can, of course, always go to my website and look at all the questions that have already been asked and answered. You can watch videos about what is Collage Fodder, what is Fodder School. There's a lot of information on here. So I hope that you've enjoyed this preview about Fodder School.